down here, close to y'all. And this is getting a little tight. So I'm gonna pull a Mr. Douglas move and open my jacket. Yeah. Oh, I can breathe now. I think it's now time to pull out the maternity tunic. I didn't want to go there yet, but hey, yeah, I think I have to. But it's a joy to be here and to share the Word of God with you. And the message for today is, I am the way, not me, but you know who I'm talking about. Jesus said that I am the way, the truth, and the life. Now, if you know music, I love music. My family loves music, and it doesn't matter what genre. It could be hip hop, it could be country. Yeah, I like country, a little bit of country, and R&B and stuff. And there's this particular song that says, "Walk this way." Some of you might know it. Maybe Gracie might know it, right? It's a song that says, "Walk this way." And if listen to it, maybe it will come back. Maybe it will bring you back to your young days, if you want to go there. All right, let's hear it. You know it, right? Some of them know it. Yes. I don't really know the words, but this is instrumental. Turn it, Mr. Roy. All right, there we go. And they have some moves to it. Back to your young days when you were not so good, right? But that's okay, that's fine. Today we're going to talk about the correct way, the perfect way. And that way is Jesus says that I am the way, the truth, and the life. Not Aerosmith, Walk This Way, because that's really a bad song. But Jesus' way, which is truth and which brings life. Now, John Dyer, a Welsh poet and pastor from the 1700s, once wrote, "A man may go to heaven without health, without riches, without honors, without learning, without friends, but he can never go without Christ." Today our world is filled with people who are seeking more other ways to God than one found in the blood of Jesus and his precious name. But all such efforts are doomed to fail, because Jesus is the only way. And John 14:6-8 tells us, "I am the only way to God, the real truth, and the real life." Let's pray. Lord, I just want to thank you that you have given us the ability to come into your presence, oh God, and to hear your word. And I pray, oh God, that every word that will be spoken to your people, oh God, that they will hear it and that they will hide it in their hearts, that when they leave this place, oh God, they will not be the same the way they came. They will be all energized and holy filled. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Now before we dive into, and I hope you have your Bibles, because you know I like to go into the Bible. Right? So keep your Bibles in John chapter 14, and thank you, Gabby, for reading it so eloquently. Thank you so much. So keep it on chapter 14. But before we go into chapter 14, before we dive into chapter 14, let's press the rewind button. And we're going to go back to chapter 13. Now in chapter 13, this is where Jesus was with his disciples. Children, he was with his homeboys at the time, right? And this time he wasn't with a lot of people. He was with them privately. And in this chapter, John features Jesus teaching his disciples privately just before his arrest and death. You see, Jesus knew that the hour has come. And what that hour is that he knew that he would have to die on the cross. And he said that my hour has come. He wanted to pour out his deepest, endless, everlasting love on them. And we see in chapter 3 that he demonstrates his unmerited love by washing their feet, by sharing the Last Supper, and by revealing who will or would deny and betray him. He did not just leave them in distress or discomfort. No, he showed them love, he fed them, and now he told them he would never leave them nor forsake them. So can you imagine how the disciples, how the homeboys had felt? Perhaps they were thinking, man, what are we going to do? Jesus is leaving us. We are dead now. Probably that's what I would think, right? But Jesus knew their hearts and he felt their pain. And that leads us to chapter 14, where he comforts his disciples. The disciples have much to be troubled with. Jesus has spoken of the betrayal and death in chapter 13 from 21 to 30. If you don't believe me, when you go home, you could look it up and read it. And has been himself troubled in the spirit, verse 21. Judas is even now in the midst of a betrayal. Chapter 13, verse 30. The disciples can imagine danger lurking in the shadows, not only for Jesus, but for themselves as well. You see, Jesus has said, I will be with you a little while longer. Where I am going, you can come, verse 33. For disciples who have left everything to follow Jesus, it must be terrible, disorienting to hear Jesus say that he's leaving them. Can you imagine? You gave up everything to follow Jesus, and now at this hour, he's telling you, I'm going to leave you, but you can't come with me. Wow, that would have been devastating. And not only that, he pointed Peter out and said, you know what? I tell you, the rooster will crow, and you will, until you deny me 3 times, in verse 33. But he said to them, don't worry, for I am with you. Don't worry, for I am the way. Don't worry, for I am the truth. Don't worry, for I am the life. I am the way, not a way. I am the way. I am the truth. And I am the life. Bob Marley has a song that says, baby, don't worry about a thing. Nice to see you. 'Cause every little thing is gonna be alright. Baby, don't worry about a thing. Yeah, Christina, you got it. 'Cause every little thing is gonna be alright. Now, if Jesus was Jamaican, you'd probably say, Irie, my brother. Yeah, don't worry. All right, let me translate it for you. You guys don't worry, because I, Jesus, am with you, and I am the way, and I am the truth, and I am the life. So disciples, babies, don't worry about a thing. And we see it in verse 1. It says, do not let your heart be troubled, afraid, or cowardly. Believe confidently in God and in trust in Him. Have faith, hold on to it, rely on it, keep going, and believe also in me. Jesus calls the disciples to believe, not because of the situation, but in spite of it. To be assured of the things hoped for, to be convinced of the things not seen. Hebrews 11:1. It is worth not noting that Jesus' counsel works. Can you imagine? They were like, okay, God, all right, you tell me don't worry, you tell me you're going to be with me. I'm going to believe you because I've seen everything that you have done. You see, when friends tell us not to worry, what we do sometimes? Yeah, we worry. We worry anyways. However, when we obey Jesus' counsel to believe in God and Jesus, our worries loses its power. If indeed all things work together for our good for those who love God, what have we to fear? If God is for us, then what does it matter who is against us? That kind of faith trumps our fear. He didn't just stop there. He continues to comfort them, and he said these words, in my Father's house are many mansions. I am going to prepare a place for you, and be sure I am come back again, right? So if he's going, he's coming back again, right? That is comforting words. Because in my Father's house, wait, there's a lot of room. Okay, that means I can have my own room. I can share my room with my brother and sister. Just saying, right? And you said that it's a mansion that you're going to prepare it for us. That means, God, Jesus, I've seen you do wonderful things. And I know that this place where you're going to prepare is going to be awesome. I'm going to be blown away for it. So I'm going to stand on that word, that promise that you said you're going and you're coming for us again. But then he said, you know the way. Do they really know the way? Of course they did. Jesus told them the way that he is going. And I want someone to look up John chapter 10, verse 11. And then someone, John chapter 12, 23 and 24. John chapter 10, verse 11.
Can I read it?
Yeah, go ahead.
John 10, verse 11. I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep.
John chapter 12, 23 to 24.
Have it.
Go ahead.
Jesus replied, the hour has come for the Son of Man to be glorified. Verily, truly, I tell you, unless a kernel of wheat falls to the ground and dies, it remains only a single seed. But if it dies, it produces many seeds.
All right, good. So he's saying, what you guys get from that? That the way is death. So you cannot blame the disciples for failing to understand that his death will be, and at the same time, the way by which he will return to the Father, and the way by which he will be glorified. No, they were confused. They were like, okay, you said we know the way, all right, and yeah, we have seen the way, you have told us the way, and all I'm seeing right now is death. But yet you said that you're going to prepare a place for me, and you're coming again, and you tell me don't worry, because you're the way, the truth, and the life. All right, I'm confused. But one bold disciple, and I like Thomas, even though people always say no for Thomas, but he was bold. Yeah, I just love what Thomas said in verse 5, and he said, Lord, we do not know where you're going, so how can we know the way? You see, Thomas did not understand the way, so he boldly asked for clarity, and he was willing to risk embarrassment in his searching for understanding. Sometimes we fail in that. Sometimes we think, you know what? I'm not going to ask God. I'm too ashamed, or I think that's a stupid question. But no, He wants us to do that. I know some of you are, how many of you are teachers or were teachers or Sunday school teacher? It doesn't matter. We're all teachers in here, right?
Yes.
Yeah, because we all teach someone something, right? And don't you love when a child or your grandchildren ask you questions? Or probably, they even ask you questions in quarterly class? That's good, yeah? Right, but we love when they ask, right? Questions. So I'm glad that Thomas was bold enough to ask, and Jesus was able to tell him. And I'm sure Jesus was pleased with his question, because he said, and he answered him and said, okay, Thomas, I am the only way to God. I am the real truth, and I am the real life. No one comes to the Father but through me. I am the only way. I am the only way. It is said that an ancient city of Troy had only one entrance, and that from wherever direction travelers approached in the city, they could only enter through one legally appointed entrance. Likewise, Jesus is the only way to heaven and to the Father. John 14:6 says, Jesus said unto him, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man cometh to the Father but by me. Now the Greek, I like to give y'all little teaching sessions. So the Greek word for the word way is called hados. I'm hoping I'm saying it right. Right? So what it technically means is it's a process. It's a road going somewhere, a path over which one moves. So how can we know the way to God? And I'm glad that Jesus displayed it by his actions, by when he was here on the earth. And why? Not only because he was man, but also he was God. And Doctrine 4 says that we believe that the person of Jesus Christ, y'all don't know it yet, it's fine. The divine and human natures are united so that he is truly and properly God and truly and properly man. Now take, for instance, if we're going to ask someone for directions, I know men are good with that. Right? And someone tells us to go to turn left here, then go right there. We're likely to get lost, right? Now, if you're going to Jamaica, I don't know if this happened to you, Doc. You ask someone in Jamaica to show you where a place is, they tell you, oh, just go down straight the road. If you see a big mango tree, turn left, and then you might walk up on some goats along the way, turn right, and there you'll see the church. Okay, what if the mango tree is not there? What if the goats are not there? We will definitely be lost. So, however, if a person leads us to take the destination, as we get there, they're walking alongside us. And that person now becomes the way. Jesus does not simply point us to the Father, but he himself is the pathway. By how he personally shows us how to live, how to be in communion and relationship with the Father. You see, Jesus is the only way. He is the only way to truth, and he is the only way to life. Are we willing to walk this way, talk this way? No, this song is going to be in your head, but I hope that it's not the original meaning. And I want you to switch it to the true meaning, the life meaning, where Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. I'm going to skip because I'm seeing the time here. So no, Jesus is truth. What does that mean? Jesus is truth. Now, there is no difference between telling someone about the truth and living the truth before them. The one who lives the truth literally becomes the truth. Jesus is embodiment of truth. He is the picture of truth. God not only talks to man about himself, but he shows man what he is like in person of Jesus Christ. And man can see and look at Jesus and see the perfect picture of truth of God. He is the communicator of truth. He reveals the ultimate source and meaning and ending of all things. He reveals the truth of man himself and of the world surrounding man. He shows man the right way to truth and enables man to choose the right way to him. This truth will set us free of frustrations when we experience it. This truth frees us from fear and weakness. And John 8:32 tells us, and you will know the truth regarding salvation, and the truth will set you free. All right, good. The truth will set you free. So are you willing to? All right, come on. That's the hook there now. That's the hook there. So are you willing to? Walk this way. Talk this way. All right, good. He's not only the way, the truth, but he's also the life. Without him, there is no life. He is the creator. As John 1:14 tells us, and I'm going to read it because I really like it. In the beginning, before all time, the Word, Christ, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God himself. He was continually existing in the beginning, co-eternally with God. All things were made and came into existence through him. And without him, not even one thing has made that has come into being. In him was life, and the power to bestow life. And the life was life of man. See, life is the quality and essence and the energy and the power, and the force and the principles of being. Jesus is life. He is the very quality of life, the very essence of life, the very energy of life, the very power of life, the very force of life, and the very principle of life. Life is completeness of being, absolute satisfaction, the fullness of all good and the possession of all good things. Life is perfect love, peace, joy, long-suffering, the fruit of the Spirit. That is life, right? What is it, Azzy? Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, self-control. Right. Whatever life is, all that is life is all in Christ. Jesus is the source of life. He is the way of life. He is the truth of life. He is the very substance of life. And he promised us that if we walk his way, we will and we shall receive eternal life. Are you willing to walk this way? Talk this way. Yes, are you willing to do that? Now, I'm not saying that the way and Jesus' way is going to be easy. Because when I was doing research, the meaning of the word way actually means narrow. And then when I went deeper into it, it says that narrow means struggle. So as Christians, as believers, we will struggle. Because that way, it's not going to be easy. We're going to have struggles. Jesus did that, and he was the way. but yet in the end, he brought truth and he brought life, which is a bonus, which is a plus. So if we walk this way, if we walk in his way, if we talk in his truth, and if we live in his life, then he will be pleased with us.
Yes.
You see, as the way, Jesus is our path to the Father. As the truth, he is the reality of all God's promise. As the life, he joins his divine life to both ours, now, and eternity. Are you willing to hold his hand, kiss the ring, and let him walk you through truth and life? Will you follow him as he is the way, as he is the truth, as he is the life? There's a song that says, Jesus is the answer for the world today. Above him there is no other, for Jesus is the way. If you have some questions in the corners of your mind, trace of discouragement, the peace you cannot find, reflection of your past, seem to face you every day. But this one thing I do know, that Jesus is the way. Jesus is the answer for the world today. Above him there is no other, for Jesus is the way. Jesus is the way, because the truth of his way puts us in a living, giving relationship with God and with each other. That's what Jesus meant when he said, I am